All right, now this is part 2 for graphing quadratic functions. Here's the two forms that we've been working with. We have the vertex form and the standard form. Now, when you guys are graphing, you only really need 2 points. One of those points has to be a vertex, and the other point can be any point. Okay, now I'm going to show you really quick 2 points that are very easy to choose. We just saw these guys in the part 1 video. I showed you guys how to change them back and forth to one another. They're the same functions. Okay, so let's graph them. The first thing we want to do is find the vertex. Now, if we're looking over here at our vertex form, this guy right here, the first thing we want to do is find your vertex. That's super easy. It's right there. It's 3, 1. You see it in the form itself. That's why it's called vertex form. You'll notice this is a positive 3, not a negative 3, and this is a positive 1. You see right here it says minus 3. That means positive 3. Remember, guys? Right 3 when you see a minus 3, and then we see a plus 1 out here, so that means that one's positive 1. I know the opposite, the x is the opposite of what you see. Now, if you're over here at the standard form, to find your vertex, that's a little bit more complicated. The first thing you're going to have to do is find the axis of symmetry, because that's your x value in the vertex. To do that, we're going to use our formula, negative b over 2a. Our b is negative 6, and then our a is 1. It's that number right in front. So then we get 6 over 2, which then equals 3. So then we get our 3. And then if you want to find the y value, which we need, the vertex is the x and the y value, you're going to have to take that 3 and plug it back into the original function, which is the x squared minus 6x plus 10. So now you see it's 3 squared minus 6 times 3 plus 10. Okay, we just plugged the 3, the axis of symmetry, into the function to find the y value. And then when we do some simplification, we get, okay, 1 right there. So that means we have our vertex, which is the same as over here. I hope you guys see that. And now you can graph it. Okay, so we go right 3 up 1, and then boom, the vertex is done. Now the next thing we're going to need to do is we're going to find another point. But before I do that, I just want to quickly mention, I noticed that there is a plus 1 and a plus 1 right there. There's a positive 1 for the a here, and there's a positive 1 for the a here. And what that simply means is that the graph is going to go up. That's something you should know because those are positive. But let's get away with that. You could just not even know that and just look for the other point. Now, what we talked about when you look for your other point is all you had to do was pick a number around the easy x. Now, right here, the easy x is 3. Because when I plug 3 into this, I get 0, and I have to square a 0, then add 1. That sounds super easy, okay? And that actually is our axis of symmetry in our vertex. So before I was telling you guys to pick 2 other points above it, 2 other points below it, but here's the trick, my stews. If you didn't notice it, I'm telling you right now. If you pick 1 point above it or below it, you're pretty much done. You see, if I take that 2 and I plug it in, I find the y value. So see, I plugged it in. So there's 2 minus 3. You find the y value. You get negative 1. You square that. You get positive 1. Positive 1 plus 1 is 2. There you go. There's our other point. Now we're technically done. But over here, let's talk about the standard form first before we finish it. Okay, we have our 3, 1. Remember we found that before? If I pick the 2, I have to plug it back into this guy because this is our form. So we have 2 to the second power, negative 6 times 2 plus 10. And when we simplify that guy, we're going to get, yep, you guessed it, the same number, which is 2. So 2, 2. Now we can technically graph it because we have both our points, the vertex and another point, and we know the axis of symmetry is right at the vertex. And so we can just copy this point over to the other side and put that, and boom, we have our graph. And we're done. Now, the second point that I picked, the another point, was just close to the vertex. Another way you can do it is you can pick the y-intercept. The y-intercept is when x equals 0. And, you know, we usually do that too sometimes because 0 is so easy to plug in. If I plug 0 into the vertex form, it would look like that. And then I would subtract the 3, I'd square it, I get 9. 9 plus 1 is 10. If I plugged it into this one over here, it's actually a little easier because you get 0 for this one, 0 for this one, and then your 10 is right there just waiting for you to see that, hey, this is the y-intercept. Now on this graph, the y-intercept would have been way up here, and then we would copy it over here, and then we could easily graph it. All right, we're done graphing this guy. Showed you guys that you only need 2 things to graph. That's part 2. I'm going to do another one called part 3 next.